Nudists of Reddit, what taboos or no-nos exist in nudist culture? We, adult M plus F, plus 2 little kids, go camping at one every summer. This is in Europe, things may differ elsewhere and also camp to camp. There are some informal rules, like don't sit on someone else's chair without a towel, and line etiquette for the dishwashing sinks, and if you're invited over for dinner bring a bottle of wine. There are also formal rules, enforced by campsite security. People get kicked out for these. I'm leaving off things that would be the same anywhere, like don't steal other people's stuff or don't masturbate in public. Don't make too much noise when other people are trying to sleep. Don't wear clothing too much. Sometimes is okay, but if you're like never hanging your junk out, security will bust you. This is really only applied to adults. Adolescent kids often sneak into clothes and no one minds. This is a family campsite, no being too drunk. Don't yell at other people's kids. Don't clean fish in places where people tend to swim. Rocky beach. Crustaceans with pincers. Think about it. Don't piggyback on someone else's electricity hookup unless the junction boxes are really full, in which case you should be very apologetic about it when the electrician notices. Don't ogle people in ways that piss them off and cause them to report you to security. Don't teach 8-year-old boys how to make really good slingshots. Wait, that's not a camp rule, it was made up by my girlfriend. Don't sit on anything other than your towel. No one likes sass sweat. Most are completely non-sexual. You wouldn't do anything there that you wouldn't do with clothes on. Yeah, but carrying a towel around is so inconvenient. What if you just tied it around your ass so it was always there? But then it'd fall off, so maybe you can stitch or hem it so it's in a better shape to stay on your ass, and maybe add a button or two. Just put on some ducking pants. You could even call this fancy towel a new name like hands-free towel. Nah, needs something catchier. Like, portable ass sweat non-transferable towel system. Pants for short. Had a former co-worker who frequently spent his weekends at a nudist camp. I was shocked to hear that he took his children. I said, I can't believe they allow children there. He responded, I would never go to a nudist camp that wasn't family friendly. Being nude is not about sex, it's about not wearing clothes. If kids aren't allowed, then that clearly isn't the case. People imagine the Playboy channel. The reality is closer to Animal Planet. You and me baby, ain't nothing but mammals. I haven't thought about that song in 10 years, and just like that it comes flooding back into my brain. From everything I've heard and read, it's amazing how anti-asexual nudists can get. It's the ultimate no-fap challenge. I heard people at nudist colonies usually aren't so physically attractive. But that's second-hand information from another nudist Reddit question, so take my comment with a grain of salt. Edit, wow, okay, that was a taste of what an AMA is like, huh? Thank you everyone, I've answered as many questions as I can tonight. Any further questions, I'll try to find time to answer tomorrow. Smile. I was born at a nudist resort, actually lived there for a few months. My parents had a cabin there when I was born, and spent most of my childhood going there with my family in lieu of the more typical parks and beaches most kids go to. My father, sister, her children, and I all still go out there a few times a year. My dad is on the shareholders board, handles the newsletter, and is a more hardcore nudist than I am. He never wears clothes unless he has to because other people. I have seen hundreds of dongs in my life, but never once have I seen an erect one in person. This is on purpose, so no, that is not an invitation, internet. Asexual behavior of any kind is not allowed at the resort, except on your own rented/owned property, never in any of the common areas. A huge part of the reason is that kids are present. We're here to be comfortable in our own skins, out in the peace and quiet of nature, no clothing required, but it must be family friendly. New members go through serious screening to prevent perverts, pedophiles, and those who have the wrong idea from getting in. One violation, and you're out on your ass faster than you can say, "It was an accident." Also, no guests without a shareholder's approval and escort. For the same reason, keep out the wrong sort. Nudists can be rather elitist, I suppose, but it's necessary to ensure that the kids are safe. How can it be that no one has an erection? I mean, they happen, right? Especially for young adults, it's not a voluntary thing most of the time. Sure, you can cover it up, but that means grabbing a towel or so first. I can't say that they don't happen, I'm not psychic, but I have certainly never seen one. Having never been in possession of a myself, I honestly have no idea how common random boners are or what might affect them, but as someone else mentioned, there's also the unspoken law of only sit on your own personal ass towel, nothing else. While not a big enough issue to get you thrown out, this rule is so ingrained in club members that my dad follows it at home, even in the chairs that only he uses anyway, and occasionally carries one around the house. No need to grab a towel, pretty much everyone has one with them nearly at all times. About the only ones that don't have a towel over one shoulder, or have it draped over whatever spot they've claimed to sit on, are the little kids. If random boners are happening out there, people are very good about hiding them very fast. I debated on adding this, since it's not a taboo, really, but there aren't many young adults at our club. Most of the members are in their mid-30s or later, usually married couples who bring their kids along. Often, they were also brought up in nudist culture, or got into it while looking for some way to instill a love of nature into their children. We're on almost 400 acres of protected forest, with a lake, river, tons of hiking trails, an awesome waterfall. There's great hiking and camping out there. I have seen naked people of pretty much every shape, size, and age, and many are not exactly what is conventionally considered to be attractive, though I think almost everybody looks just fine naked. As far as I'm concerned, clothes or no clothes makes no difference to me at all, no matter what body type you have, and that seems to be the prevailing point of view at the resort. Perhaps the utterly non-sexual nature of the place, together with the average age of the people there, helps to keep things in check. Taking pictures without permission. Same can be said for ogling, especially if you're the ogler with clothes on. I regularly frequent nudist gatherings in town, and when cameras come out, it doesn't take long for the mob of angry nudists to put that activity to rest real quick. I've also seen people chased off for getting a full Eiffel while wearing clothes, while the object of their attention is most definitely not. That said, there is a caveat to note here. If the camera is pointed at a model off in the corner, with no other people in view, it's totally fine. It comes down to consent and reasonable expectation of privacy. I skydived naked into a nudist's resort once. There were plenty of cameras around when we landed. I wasn't exactly comfortable with that because we were told cameras were frowned upon. No pointing and laughing. But one of those is involuntary. It has a mind of its own. Fair enough. No pointing with your finger. Some background: my parents owned and operated a nudist camp from about 1955 until 1986. We lived on the property, so I was raised as a nudist. Before I start, I think some distinctions need to be drawn between nude beaches, nudist camps and nudist resorts. Nude beaches are generally under the radar public beaches that are used by people who want to swim nude, but they are generally open to anyone, so the local rules depend on who is going there and why. There are some that are formally recognized by the local authorities and limit the wearing of clothes, and others that are remote enough that the police don't bother them much. Quite a few unofficial nude beaches have areas where it's considered okay to have sex, but it's generally frowned on to do that where you can be seen from the beach. There are some nude beaches that are frequented mainly by gays and lesbians, and they are sometimes put off if too many straights show up. And most people at nude beaches are upset if a lot of people who aren't nude come by to gawk at the nudists. Nudist camps, never colony, are more like a private campground where people can come for a day, a weekend, or a few weeks. Generally they are a private club where you pay a fee, but some allow daily or weekly visitors. Many of the camps shave semi-permanent residents who stay in trailers or small cabins. Life centers around the pool or lake, and sports and games like volleyball, horseshoes, badminton and table tennis. There's usually a small cafe or snack bar, and a lounge for socializing when the weather is bad. Nudist resorts are kind of like the camps, but are run sort of like condominium associations and cater to permanent residents, but allow some short-term visitors. At these latter two kinds of places, it's understood that you are there mainly to enjoy living without clothing, so the expectation is simple: if it's reasonable to be nude, be nude. That means that if it's cold, or raining, you wear clothes. If a woman is on her period, she might wear panties or brief shorts, so yes, everyone knows, so what? If you're cooking you wear something, usually just an apron, and that can look funny from the rear view. Yes, the towel thing is true, generally a small one like a tea towel though. You just grab it and take it with you to sit on, no biggie. So much worry about erections in the comments. It's generally not a problem, because it gets to be normal to see nude people and that takes away some of the thrill. But yes, it happens, and when it does you can A, wait it out, or B, hold your towel strategically and jump in the generally unheated pool, which takes care of it. When I was a teenager, my non-nudist friends from school were obviously really keen to come and visit me at home. They were all worried about getting hard, and exactly zero had that problem when the day came to visit the first time. Some commenters have said that it's prudish and inconsistent to be intolerant of erections. There is some truth to that, but remember that the local authorities were generally opposed to the nudist camps, and any suggestion that it was a place where there was open sexual activity, especially since there were always young children around, would be all the excuse they needed to shut it down. So nudists in general want to make sure any activity remains private and feel that too much open sexuality is not a good idea. That said, in the 70s there was a flourishing subset of nudist camps that were adults only and were basically swingers clubs. In some cases a nudist camp shifted its focus to that, and in others the people who were expelled from the more traditional camps started nudist clubs more to their taste, with parties, drinking and beauty contests. Another thing to mention is that body shaming is not an issue at most traditional nudist camps. Yes, as has been noted, over and over again, in the comments, the average nudist is not a model. That's because they are in fact average. Imagine a group of people at your local supermarket, Target or Walmart. Now imagine them at a campground, cooking dinner at a barbecue, kids running around. Now imagine these people doing that, but naked. That's a nudist camp. Unself-consciously naked, mind you. The thing that people like about nudism is that they don't need to worry about how their body looks, whether they are wearing the right clothes, etc. The commenters who talk about how ugly that is miss the point. It's only ugly because we have a limited and unrealistic expectation of what a nude human body should look like, and 90% of us don't live up to that. Women seem to be especially happy to stop worrying about how their bodies will be judged, because nudists generally don't judge. A little example. A couple in their early 30s came for their trial visit, which was always pre-arranged. They drove into the property and were greeted by my father, resplendent in nothing but rubber boots. The wife clearly had been coaxed into coming by her husband, and had no idea where to look when my father showed up at her car window. They were given a tour of the grounds, they could stay dressed for that, and as the tour continued, the husband seemed to be looking a little disappointed, but the wife, seeing so many average-looking women and men around, started to look more relaxed. They went back to their car, took off their clothes, and spent the rest of the day talking to other people there. Funnily enough, it turned out that she was the one who was more enthusiastic about joining the club and coming back. So that leads me to some other things that are frowned upon. Ogling and openly staring at someone's assets, whether that's a large penis, breasts, etc., is not done. No signs or warnings required, people just get it by example. Sunglasses that hide your eyes, either too dark or mirrored, are avoided, because it could make you appear to be ogling. But these are things that would or should be out of place at a public, nude, beach as well. photography that includes people who have not given you permission is a no-no. Nudists might choose to take some pictures with family or friends at times when there are few people around, just to avoid that. The ubiquity of mobile phones with cameras has been an issue. Some camps go by the honor system, and some limit mobile phone use to your campsite, trailer or cottage. So, I hope that is a fairly thorough overview of what it's like at a nudist camp. Edit, clarified sunglasses statement.